Greetings and welcome back. I will be your host for this evening, and today we are delving into the r/true scary stories subreddit. Make sure you grab a snack, get comfy, put your socks on, get in your PJs, get in bed or a comfy chair. Because this is going to be a long one. I was recently working near a river in the British Columbia wilderness when about 20 meters from me and my coworker we heard loud footsteps crashing through the trees. My coworker yelled out. Nothing. The footsteps continued, but after he yelled out a second time, the footsteps stopped and then things went completely silent. There was other people in the vicinity throughout the week, but to our knowledge, nobody there that day. I grew up hunting, and I am very familiar with the fauna of Western Canada. It sounded like a bull or a cow moose or elk, perhaps a sizable buck, but to my knowledge they don't have the smarts to actively hide from humans when they are yelled at. Same with bears. Mountain lions, however, do. But I don't believe one would ever be so loud and clumsy sounding. What the fuck was in those woods? I'm not above thinking it was perhaps a Bigfoot, or was it a sinister person? Yes, wood stories are always cool. I live in the woods. Well, my parents' house is basically in the middle of the woods. I hear weird shit all the time. All the time. Especially at nighttime. It's very strange. Creepy lady in the woods. Throughout many years, there's been a bunch of rumors going around of people seeing some weird shit in this one forest not too far from me. I have been in this forest a bunch of times before, and there's been some weird random shit there. Me and some friends once found a bed, a closet, and some candles just in the middle of nowhere. But this one day we were playing basketball after school on a summer day. The court was right by our elementary school, and right behind the court was the forest. At some point, one of us airballed, and the ball rolled down into the forest. I went to get it, and as I walk into the forest, I see a lady in a white, dirty jacket holding a white plastic bag and what looked to be a knife. She is about 250 meters away from us, so it was kind of hard to tell if it was a knife or not. I remember her just staring towards us. And my dumb ass, of course, tried to shout, "What are you doing?" and didn't get a response. After about 20 seconds, she walked deeper into the forest. My friends were pretty spooked out, but I wanted to investigate. We continued to play basketball for a little bit, and the next day at school, we went into the forest to look for her again. After walking around for a while, we found a white plastic bag, which we presumed was hers since it had the same store branding on it as she had. It was closed, and we decided to open it. We found a voodoo doll-looking thing made out of styrofoam, and the head was a cabbage head. Everything was held together with needles. Of course, the idiots we were, we decided to destroy the doll and mess with it. This story isn't that scary, but I just wanted to share it as it's kind of weird. Well, hopefully voodoo's not a thing, because usually those dolls are made connected to a person, so I can just imagine some poor guy as you're destroying the doll just being like, you know? So hopefully that's not what happened. Paranormal activity. A few years back, me and some friends were at our friend's house watching TV. My friend had decided to go ahead and charge her phone. Then out of nowhere, her charger gets thrown out of her phone and down a staircase. The weird thing is, the phone didn't move a centimeter. It was an iPhone charging on an iPhone charger, and if you have an iPhone charger yourself, you know that an iPhone charger won't just slip out, especially not at a speed like that. The charger fell from the sofa and down the staircase at one hell of a speed. When we went to get the charger, the tip of the charger had been bent. I don't even think I or anyone else in that room could have thrown a charger at that speed down the staircase to the point where the tip bended. After the charger got thrown down, her dog started acting crazy too. It started barking, going upstairs, and then came down kind of whining, or whatever you call it. The dog seemed hella stressed. This all went on for about 15 minutes. This isn't anything too scary. I just don't understand how a charger randomly flies down the stairs like that without the phone moving a bit. My friend who lived there has also claimed that she's heard and seen some weird shit before too. And me personally... What? And I personally don't really believe in paranormal shit like ghosts and stuff, but this one incident doesn't sit right with me. Well... Definitely needs some spelling correction, but not too bad. I actually have my own story about something like this. Not with an iPhone charger or anything, and I don't actually know if it's can be classified as paranormal or not, but it was just kind of scary and a coincidental thing. I do believe in paranormal stuff, you know, ghosts and demons and things. Because that's just, I'm religious, so, you know, I believe in the good, so the bad has to exist too. Anyways, one night, and I don't know why I did this was a while ago. One night, I was up late, this is back at my parents' house. I was up late, all by myself. The dogs were there. Belle, our biggest dog, she's a Tibetan Mastiff. She was in the living room sleeping, and she barks at everything. And I mean everything. If some random animal, if you even have the nerve, if you have the gall to even walk past our house, she immediately gets up and runs towards the window and starts barking like somebody's trying to break in. I don't know why, but that's just what she does. But she's also the laziest. So it leads me to believe that if somebody were actually breaking in, she would just... Hey, how's it going? And then go back to sleep. But as far as this story goes, I, for some reason... And again, I can't explain why I did this. I really don't know. I said out loud... If there is anything in this house at all, do something. Make a noise. Show yourself to me. And it was at that moment that Belle started barking from the other room. And when I walked in there, she didn't even look at me. She didn't look over at me or anything. She looked up by the TV near the wall where there is not a window there. She looked up, and I just see her head go. While she's growling and barking. Could be a coincidence. Probably is. Dogs are weird, dude. This next one. I was almost kidnapped by a gay pedophile. This is a scary story for me personally because I might not exist here and now if the culprit got what he wanted. It happened back in Jakarta, Indonesia in the 1980s. I think I was about 4 to 6 years old. The details are blurry, but I remember my mom took me to accompany her to a small Buddhist temple near our home. Don't think of large open temples like you saw in kung fu movies. No, this is a small building with bathroom tile-like high walls. It was nestled in a small, busy neighborhood populated by both the real native Indonesian and Chinese Indonesian. My mom did teach me not to talk to strangers, even if they offered me candies. Inside the temple, she left me to pray, and I just played in the outside, still within the high walls of the temple though. The door was tall, solid, and made of metal, painted in red. I had gone there many times, and usually nothing happened, but on that fateful day, a man peeked from a slit meant for hands to unlock it from the outside, and talked to me. I forgot what he said, but I remembered he offered me candies. I knew what my mom said, but I somehow opened the door for him and went outside. Outside the temple, there were a row of bikaks. Bikak is like a rickshaw, but the driver sits backward and he pedals it like a bike. Yes, he was a native bikak driver. He took me to his bikak and sat inside. I forgot the details, but I remember sitting on his lap. He did not let me escape. He scolded me and grabbed my little arm. And it all happened in public, in broad daylight. To be honest, I didn't remember if he had a hard-on or not, but if you use logics, you will come to think that he might have an erection. So that's why he forced me to sit on his lap, and I didn't want to let me go. Perhaps he might have even rubbed it against my butt. If it happened, I'm glad I did not remember it. Felt like forever, but then my mom rushed forward and screamed. She rescued me, and it was such a commotion. It didn't last long, though, because we were then back inside the temple and I was scolded by her. I was both sad and scared, but I'm glad she rescued me. If the bikak driver had taken me away instead of making me sit on his lap outside the temple, I might not have been here. He might have raped me and killed me, or made me a beggar. Yes, there are some real sexual criminal cases involving gay pedophiles in Indonesia, with dead victims. Thinking of that makes me shiver. Ugh, what a creep! Blech. Be careful out there. People are creepy. People are strange. Not all of them, but it only really takes one. The face of chaos. A few years back, I ended up having a psychotic break which inevitably left me having profound hallucinations and nightmare-fueled experiences bordering on the religious/paranormal. Thankfully, not anymore. Out of the numerous hallucinations I've had, one stuck out to me a bit more than the others. As I was laying down in my bed, on the brink of falling into a deep sleep, something woke me. I saw a vivid vision of a demonic reptilian face. Reptilian eyes, black and red skin, snake-like teeth, but it didn't look like something you would see created by makeup artists for a horror movie. It was too realistic, even for movie standards today. Movies are pretty realistic. CG is insane. Even though I saw this, I wasn't frightened, at least not until I realized why I was envisioning this nightmarish face. As I was turning into the silence of my room, becoming more awake and realizing what I was seeing in my mind, I started hearing this faint sound coming from all around me, like it came from angry predators I couldn't see with the naked eye. What the hell is that barking noise? I knew that this was something I was hallucinating, so I was able to distance myself from what was happening in my mind and stayed calm. As I listened for about 20 more seconds, I realized the face I envisioned before was my mind showing me what was around me, making these horrifying barking noises, but it made the angriest dog bark sound friendly in comparison. I ended up falling asleep once the barking was over and brushed it off. Brushed it off? That is no big deal. I saw this crazy snake demon dude. He was barking like a dog from hell, but gotta get your 8 hours. A few days later, I was outside of my job in the parking lot about to walk in to start my shift when I hear this loud, abrupt hum. Then out of thin air, I see the same creature I envisioned days prior, but this time it was the whole creature. The closest way I could describe it was if a human and velociraptor had a baby. It's the Velocipastor. The prophecy. The Velocipastor is true. Its face was demonic. It had a humanoid body, but it looked like it was aggressively stalking me like a carnivorous prehistoric animal. The hallucination stopped, but it left me questioning how powerful the mind is and whether hell is real. The mind is a very powerful thing. Very powerful. Sometimes your mind can make you feel pain that you're actually not feeling, which is kind of confusing. I had a friend once who literally just one day couldn't walk anymore. She collapsed in the hallway at school and then had to learn how to walk again. I can't remember what specifically it's called that happened, but apparently it's something that does happen. Alright, this one is called "The Same Shadow Figure Has Been Haunting Me Since Childhood." I've always struggled with sleep paralysis since I was a little kid, like 5 or 6. I always see the shadowy. I always see the shadowy figure in the left upper corner of whatever room I'm in. Then I feel the weight on my chest like something is sitting on me. For most of my life, I could just feel the weight on my chest and nothing more. But this past year, things took a more physical turn. When it happens, I feel hands grabbing at parts of my body almost sexually, and something tried to cover my mouth and my nose to where I can't breathe. Sometimes it gets so aggressive I'll be in pain, but I can't shake myself awake. It goes on for what seems like at least 5 minutes. Sometimes the only way I can shake myself awake is when my boyfriend hears me breathing violently and he tries to wake me. I want to go see a psychic, but I don't know anyone reputable around here where I live in Fort Worth, Texas. If anyone knows someone, please comment and let me know. Sometimes I'm genuinely scared it's going to kill me in my sleep. I've had sleep paralysis on several occasions in my life, and I'm gonna tell you what, I never saw anything that I know of or can remember during sleep paralysis. I did see once a weird shadow figure of like a little boy standing, but I wasn't paralyzed. I could move, and then I blinked and he was gone. I was like maybe 4 or 5. It was very strange. But whenever I have had sleep paralysis, it's always when I'm like face down in my pillow and I can't breathe. And that's the part that's so terrifying to me, is that I can't breathe. And so what I have to do is focus all of my effort, all of my might and strength on moving my just one toe. Usually it's my big toe. And then once I move that, I can shoot up out of bed and and then I go back to sleep and everything's fine. This one is, I'm in desperate need of an explanation before I drive myself crazy trying to figure it out on my own. You know, I usually drive myself crazy trying to figure things out on my own, and I somehow never learn to just ask. I'm just stubborn that way. I'm just now being told this story myself, so bear with me as I may leave a few details out. I'll try my best. My mother and I have been sitting here talking about how the house we live in and the property itself are just downright creepy. Some weird, unusual, and sometimes unexplainable things happen around here. This is just one example. A few weeks ago, my mother was coming home after a long day of dealing with her now ex-boyfriend. I wasn't home at the time of this incident. Anyways, she pulls in the driveway, and before she's even able to react or notice, my beloved cat Tink runs out in front of her and she hits him. Oh, freaking out because she knows how devastated I'll be. She gets out to check on him, but he tries to get up and run but collapses. She tries everything, but he dies, or so she thinks. He had no pulse and wasn't breathing. Her not knowing what to do at the time, she takes him and buries him beside our building, dreading telling me the news. Roughly 10 days later, he reappears out of nowhere, unhurt, solid white, as usual, without a trace of dirt on him. The hole where he was buried looks like there was never a hole dug there to begin with. Someone please help me try and find some type of explanation. I'm going crazy trying to figure it out on my own. What the hell did I just read? You're gonna have to just leave that property, dude. I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to burn it down. Burn it down. You want my advice? Burn it down. Don't even worry about the stuff inside. It's fine. Burn it down. Take anything with you and the weirdness will follow you. Just scuttle it. Get rid of it. It could be that she hit a cat that looked very similar to your cat, and the one she buried, is still there. If the site is dug up, it could be an animal. I take back my advice. This guy, he's the one. He's smart. He's smarter than me. He's smarter than me. Oh, wait a minute. At first I thought the same thing, but there's just no way it could have been a cat that looked very similar unless they were identical twins. My cat Tink is completely solid white with one blue eye and one green eye. In my past 9 years of living in this area, I've never once came across a cat identical. Well, maybe today just happened to be its lucky day, or unlucky day, and one just strolled through. You never know. The world is a strange place. Okay, so this is a comment. I have a somewhat similar story from my childhood. My older sister had made a new friend at school named Jennifer, and they started sleeping over at each other's houses. Jen had moved into a really old house that was in our school district, and she told us that ever since they moved in, she started seeing the ghost of a little girl, except it wasn't scary, not at first anyways. Curious about her, she bought a Ouija board. Never ever a good idea. She bought a Ouija board to talk with her and found out her name was Megan. Megan. She said at first it was kind of fun, but then she started seeing Megan other places too. As she was telling the story, there was a knock at our front door. My mom was sewing at the kitchen table and yelled for us to answer it. I opened the door and my cat immediately dashed out. She was all white too, and I just started running after her, trying to cut her off before she darted under our car in the driveway. I didn't make it, and slowed in defeat as I saw her disappear under the car. I knelt down and grabbed her foot, pulling her to me, but she got mad and started scratching my arms and face. In pain, I just let her go, and she darts back under the car. My sister comes outside with Jennifer and asks me what I'm doing on the ground and who was at the door. I was so preoccupied with chasing after Nikki that I didn't even notice that there was no one outside. I looked back under the car and my cat was gone. I tell my sister and Jen and they just exchange a look but don't say anything. We go back inside and I tell my mom that Nikki got out and she says, "What are you talking about? She's been sleeping between my feet all night." I look under the table and sure enough my cat is sound asleep. Calm and content, not breathing heavy or looking disheveled like she had just been running at top speed or fighting with a teenager. I look at my arms expecting to see scratch marks, but there's nothing. Just then my brother comes downstairs and asks Jennifer if her name was Megan. We all stop and say, "What?" He explains that he was using the house phone landline when someone else called in. When he clicked over, some little girl asks if Megan was here. He told her she must have the wrong number and said he clicked back over to resume his call. Jennifer starts breathing heavy like she's about to have a panic attack, and my sister pulls her downstairs before my mom notices. Downstairs, she keeps saying, "She followed me. She followed me." As far as I remember, that's all that happened at our house. But her being my sister's friend and me being the annoying little sister, I never heard anything else. In fact, I need to remember to ask my sister about it. This is the first time I've even thought about it in decades. Jeez, dude. That is pretty crazy. Yeah. That's, a lot of layers to that one. Jeez, man. Well, I can't really explain that one. that one's a bit of a mystery to me. All right, this next one is called Shadow Figure. When I was around 10, my sister wanted me to sleep in her room. She had a twin bed on both sides of the room, one facing the closet, the other facing the door. I wanted to sleep on the one facing the closet because it had a bunch of plushies, but she insisted I sleep on the one facing the door, so I did. When I woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I saw 3 figures standing at the door, the middle one being the tallest. I just closed my eyes, then opened it, and they were gone, so I got up to use the washroom. I wasn't afraid. After that, I knew why she wanted me to sleep in her room. My sister still sees spirits to this day, but I think that has to do with fear. They feed off of it. She says when I'm around, nothing happens. Other people say that too, like there is an aura around me. I don't know. I just ignore and not fear the spirits, and they don't bother with me, only when I'm asking for it. There is something to be said about them feeding off of fear. That is true. Okay, this one's called I Might Have Escaped Something Horrible. So it has been a few years since this happened, and I still don't know what to make of it. I was a 22-year-old female. I went out with some friends, got really drunk, and ended up stranded in a city I'm not familiar with. Lost my friends, phone battery had died, I was alone. This was all happening around 4 a.m. I was frantic and crying, obviously drunk. I was talking to 2 guys who were trying to help me. Then another guy interrupts them and tells me he talked to my friends and that they have left. He offers me a ride home, saying he is a taxi driver, and eases the 2 guys helping me. The drunk and desperate to go home me totally believes him. When I get inside his car, I don't see the usual taxi gear. It rings alarm bells, but we have a lot of unofficial taxi drivers here, so I let it go. We drive and are talking normally. I notice that we are not driving towards a highway like we were supposed to. I ask about it, and he says something along the lines of an extra stop. We started to drive into wooded areas, and my fear was rising by the second. He eventually parked in a secluded area covered by trees and bushes. I told him that I felt very uncomfortable and that I would like to leave. He says not to worry. This part always gets my heart beating when thinking back about it. It was quiet in the car. I slowly and quietly tried to open my door, heart pounding like crazy. It was locked. He heard me and said, "You're not getting out." I tell him again that I want to leave. He says that I don't have to worry and that he is gay. I try to spin the situation and connect with him on that and talk about other random stuff, acting like I'm his friend. He weirdly strokes my whole upper leg one time. I tell him I'm taking driver's lessons, and we talk about me driving in his car for a bit. He starts the car, drives to a public area, and unlocks the car so we can switch. I immediately ran for my life into a bus lane. I waved my hands frantically to an upcoming bus, and they picked me up and called the police. I still don't know what happened. Did he have bad intent? Did he just chicken out? He definitely lied about my friends, etc., but he also was willing to let me drive his car and just let me go. I filed a police report, but nothing came of it. This is my first time writing something like this, so sorry if I wasn't clear. No, I think you were pretty clear. The dude was a creepo. And he was really stupid. Stupid for doing that. He's just some people are just sick, man. I don't get it. Okay. Alright, this one's interesting too. Called Something Lives in My Bush. Once, my friends and I went into a bush on my mother's property, hoping to make a dumb short horror film for my YouTube. How big is this? How big is this bush? What kind of a bush? When we went, we heard a laugh about 25 minutes in, but everyone was grouped around the camera. We also all felt an eerie feeling. We went to exit and saw a spade, bag of soil, and a circle of stones. I went in again when my friends left. I heard loud laughs as soon as I went in, sprinted out, and never went back again. Well, could have been your ma coming out having a laugh, you know. My dog, this one is called My Dog Saw Something and I Don't Know What to Do. As the title says, my dog A. Is your dog's name A? A! Hey! Get over here! Get over here right now! Hey, stop that! Drop it! Drop it! Hey, drop it! Drop it right now! Good. Now go. Go lay down. Go lie down. No, hey, go. As the title says, my dog has seen something. This happened. Sorry. As the title says, my dog has seen something. This happened just moments ago, and I'm genuinely scared. I only ask for guidance. My home is old, built during the time of slaves by a family member. He sadly did own slaves. In fact, he was known for being violent towards them. But I thought this was all behind us until now. When my dog, a lab and pit bull mix, stood in front of me and started to growl and bare her teeth, it scared me, as she is a sweet dog who doesn't bark, much less show her teeth. I tried to get out of my room, but she began to circle me, not breaking her line of sight with whatever it was she saw. So I was stuck until I heard and saw my door slam, and she began to whimper and try to get me to pick her up. I climbed out my window into the garden, and we've been watching the windows as I type this. She is shaking like hell, and I'm not sure what to do. This isn't the first time this has happened, but this time I couldn't ignore it. It's my first time seeking help for this, and I'm afraid maybe next time Lola won't be here to protect me. Update. Things have calmed down. I have felt its eyes on me all day today as I've cleaned today, but it hasn't acted up yet. I've taken advice I was given, but when I shouted prayers, it began to slam doors and windows windows open and closed until I had stopped. I've begun to use them as a sort of punishment for it. I appreciate all the help I've received. If I can bring myself to, I will update on this, but I'm not sure. Okay, this one seems interesting. This was 14 days ago by SpazGamer01. I know I haven't been saying the usernames for all of these. I'll most likely have it like just an image of the actual story like frozen on the screen so you guys can read all that information. This one's called It Follows, or It Follows. That's a movie. It Followed. Hey guys, it's been a while since I last spoke. It's been an eventful time for sure, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I just had to share this experience burnt into my mind. It feels like yesterday it happened. Just prepare. Feel free to ask. I just had to share this experience burnt into my mind. It feels like yesterday it happened. Just prepare yourself. It's a wild ride. I'd like to say off the bat, I've always been superstitious. I've always been a superstitious person ever since I was a kid. Things I can only describe as not of our world seem to happen around me, from items disappearing and reappearing out of what seems like nowhere, to having the feeling of being watched when nobody is there. I wish I could say I've slowly gotten used to it over the years, but it never gets any less chilling, even since my family moved to a small farm area in the country. It was a nice enough area, and I had met a friend who was interested in all things supernatural and weird. Soon after I moved, it was a nice enough area, and I had met a friend who was interested in all things supernatural and weird soon after I moved, and we clicked immediately. He is what you would describe as a guy living life on the edge. We will call him Harry from here on out. You see, Harry loved the paranormal and was interested in experiences with it, of course. I told him about strange things I've seen since I was younger. Now, this was my first mistake. I'll tell you why. You see, Harry recently came in possession of an Ouija board and was excited to try it out. And my family just so happens to be away for the next week, so of course he begged me to do a session with him, to which I eventually caved and told him I'd help him. So, we ended up setting up the board next to this lake near our houses. Still don't understand why. It was around 10 p.m. We set it up, and Harry had attempted to summon something from the other side while I watched and waited nervously. At first, nothing seemed to happen, so he told me to join in and help him, and to stop being a coward. This annoyed me, so I had to join in, but as soon as I sat down and put my hand on the board, the feeling I can only describe as the feeling of being watched had washed over me. I projected to Harry what I was feeling, to which he immediately dismissed, so we continued the game, Harry asking simple questions and getting no answers. After about 30 minutes with nothing, I began to think my feeling was simply my nerves toying with me, until I decided to finally ask a question. "Is there anyone here?" To which the piece slowly moved to yes. We were shocked. Harry and I looked at each other, asking if either of us moved it, and to not play around. But neither of us had moved it, of our own volition. This seemed to excite Harry even more, and told me to ask more questions, so I did. We asked this entity if it used to live here, and it said no. Harry decided to ask, "Did you die here?" It shifted to no again, and then asked, "Do you want to hurt us?" Yes. At the same time, I hear what can only be described as a massive splash from what could only be 50 meters away, which startled me as I accidentally took my hands off the board. This was my second mistake. After this, we didn't get anything else from the board, but could feel something staring at us. It was so intense. We said goodbye and packed up the board and went home. I honestly thought that would be the end of it. Let me tell you, that couldn't be further from the truth. The feeling of being watched only got worse when I got home, so ensuring everything was locked and latched was my first concern. As the feeling started to subside, I decided to call it a night and went to bed, somehow falling asleep pretty easily, only to be woken up an hour later from a loud banging at my back door. Of course, I go to investigate and try and peek around the windows to try and see who it is, but all I see is pitch black darkness. So building up all my courage, I head to the back door and call out, "Who are you? Why are you trespassing on my property?" At first, there's no reply, just loud banging. I threatened to call the police if they didn't leave. That was when the banging stopped and something spoke. It sounded like my friend, but it wasn't. I don't know how to describe it. The voice was exactly like Harry's, but distorted somehow, telling me to
"Open the door."
Over and over again in the calmest voice. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to open the door, but I left the latch in by mistake, so it only opened part of the way. But when the door opened, there was nobody there. I quickly closed and locked the door and turned on the back lights to get a better view. But there was nothing, so I grabbed my phone and give Harry a call, preparing to give him an earful for scaring me and to never go through the backyard again, only to have it ring out multiple times until being met with a groggy, tired voice on the other side, wondering why I woke him up. So I asked him if he was at my house just then, only to be told, "No, I've been asleep. And I'm talking nonsense. I'll speak to you in the morning." After hanging up, I remember sitting in the kitchen completely shook for what felt like hours, eventually calming down enough to try and get some sleep. At this point, it was around 2 a.m. As I was attempting to sleep after all the weirdness, the air felt odd, as if it was both hot and cold at the same time. I fell asleep shortly after, only to experience something I haven't felt before. It was like I was falling, at the same time losing my breath, like I was drowning in some endless sea to be pulled back to what felt like reality. Only I couldn't move, not my head or even my arms, but I managed to move my eyes. It was almost like I was in a trance. As my eyes adjusted to the familiar look of my room, I could feel my heart rate increasing, as all I could do was look around, and I saw it. I've never seen something so horrifying. Its body was slender, almost like a skeleton, with inhumanely long arms. But that's not the worst part. Oh my God, the face. I'll never forget it as long as I live. Its eyes were sunken and black, and its mouth was open so wide, almost like a snake, showing what looked like hundreds of teeth of different shapes and sizes, just standing in my room, staring at me. I couldn't scream. I couldn't run. All I could do was stare, as this thing slowly approached my bed with impossibly heavy footsteps. Almost like the floor would break at any moment. I couldn't help it. I closed my eyes in fear as the footsteps just stopped. I waited for what felt like forever to nothing. It was then I opened my eyes to see this thing hunched over me, inches from my face. At that point, I was certain I would not see the morning as this thing said my name in the voice of my friend. That was when it all went dark, as I could feel the breath leaving my body. It suddenly stopped as I woke up on the floor in a cold sweat, terrified of what happened. All I could do was cry. I have left that house since, currently at a family member's house for the past 2 months. Whatever that thing was, I haven't seen it since, but I truly hope I never see that thing again. Ooh, man. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, geez, man. Okay, yeah. Well, never use a Ouija board, okay? Never ends well. It's not a board game. It's not a children's toy. Don't mess with it, because why would you want to take that risk? You know what I mean? Even if you don't believe, what if you're wrong? Don't even use a Ouija board if you intend to follow all the rules. Play with multiple people, don't play in your house, don't play in a cemetery, always say goodbye. You can do all of those things. What makes you think that you have control over something like that? We're humans, we're small, we're squishy. We don't have divine powers. Just saying, it's not worth it. All right, folks. This has been very interesting, and I have enjoyed this one a lot, actually. Paranormal stuff always tickles my fancy. I'm going to leave this one here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really did enjoy this one. And if you have any suggestions for what I should look at next, leave them in the comment section below. If you really enjoyed it, make sure you like the video and subscribe and share, because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs before the end of the summer. That is my goal. Hopefully we can make that happen. I'm confident we can do that. I'm confident. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.